Welcome to the Moving Company Owners Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of moving companies and the people who make them run. From industry leaders to successful moving company owners, we explore their stories, strategies, and insights to help you grow your business and take it to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned veteran, this is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to move your business forward with your host, Jason Bergenske.
Hey guys, Jason Bergenske here with Moving Company Owners Podcast. I have John Hamilton with us today with Brooks Moving and Hauling. How you doing, John?
Good, Jason. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, buddy. So typically we pretty much just start these and kind of hear a little bit about yourself, how you got in the moving industry, and what brought you to run a moving company.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was a crazy journey. I did 13 years in the military. I was towards the tail end of my military career. I was getting really heavy into real estate because I was moving around a lot. So, I was buying houses every time I moved with the military, and then I started renting them out, which got me into fix and flips, and moved out of the fix and flip business and got more into apartment syndication. So we were buying apartment complexes, doing private equity deals. And I thought the moving industry would be a good vertical to add to my pre-existing business. Little did I know 3 years later that I got sucked into the black hole of the moving industry. And it's been good though. We've grown a lot. We've learned a lot, and we just get better every day.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about the business you bought into then. So you've been in it for 3 years. What did that business look like prior to you coming into it?
Yeah. So I funny story. I kept telling my buddy who's a real estate brokerage owner, I kept telling him, I was like, hey, I'm going to come down there. Obviously I moved from North Carolina to Florida, or back to Florida, I should say. That's my old stomping grounds, my hometown. And I told him, I was like, when I move down, I want to open a moving company. So he got me connected with a broker, a business broker, and I started chatting with him, just kind of, putting my feelers out there. Never in a million years thought that there was going to be a moving company that I would, be able to afford out there. And lo and behold, there was actually right across the street from where I was moving to, Brooks Moving and Hauling. Guy Stephen Brooks was wanting to exit. He had bigger plans. He wanted to move to Tennessee and do stuff like that. So he had it listed, and we ended up working out a good deal. My seller financed the company, put a decent chunk up front, and then we amortized the loan over 5 years. And yeah, since then it was a really small company. When I picked it up, it was kind of him running it with 5 or 6 guys, really hyper local. There's a community called Jupiter Farms that he was serving, and there was about 5,000 homes there. So he was really well known, had a great reputation, and so it was a good fit, and we picked it up. And since then we've grown. I think he was doing about 200,000 a year when I picked it up, and this year, 2023, just got done. So we finished out the year a little over 3 million. So
that's
in
awesome.
3 years, we've grown a bit.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what would you say is one of the differentiators from, since you took it over to, where it was at? How long was he running it and had gotten it up to 200,000?
So he started running it in 2016. I bought it in 2021. And I don't know what his, personal goals were as far as the company, but he was basically, the truck was in his backyard. He had a shed with all his materials. So he was running super lean. His P&L was looking good because he, most of the stuff was all right there at his house. And so for us, it was just a strategy of growth. I saw a lot of gaps that, he wasn't filling. I knew that the opportunity was there, especially in the high demand. 2021 COVID was coming through. Everyone's moving from upstate, the New England area down to Florida. So it was a great opportunity.
No, it's fantastic. So how many trucks are you running now? I guess compared to back then, he was probably only running one truck, I guess, doing $200,000 a year is.
Yeah, he had one truck, really nice. Actually, it's a brand new Ford F350, 750. 750 is a big guy with a big moving body on it, and so, and then he was also running a trailer. He would drive the truck around, and and do that. But yeah, we're up to 6 trucks now owned. During the summer, we're up to 7, 8, and just pushing through to as the availability for us goes down, we just rent so that we can to fill that gap as needed. And then during the slow season, we're stuck with 6. So,
Gotcha. No, it's great. So what, obviously growing that much, I mean, you guys have done a lot of things. What are some of the main contributors you think to that? Is it specific marketing channels you've done? Is it relationship with realtors? Like what kind of does that look like?
yeah. So I think the really important thing when you're that small and you don't have a lot of overhead is really push towards the guerrilla marketing. Really start building your networks of repeat referral customers. Really, tap into the realtor networks. Do presentations, go to BNI meetings. Really get that foundation of people that know, like, and trust you, so that a lot of your business is driven off of, word of mouth. That's super important. I think 33% of our business last year was all word of mouth, repeat referral customers. And then from there, we just kind of, we were still new. So we were playing with like TikTok and I think Angie and a lot of these other lead providers because we were cheaper at the time.
Sure.
And we just continued to grow through that. We pushed through that phase, and then we started doing mailers. We got into the Google PPC digital marketing stuff, Google local service ads. We're continuing to still obviously build our network of repeat referrals and real estate agents and stuff like that. So yeah, it really helped us explode. And then, we did a lot of integration on the CRM side where we'd send out, 10-month, 11-month emails, thank yous, happy holidays. Then we ended up getting a realtor list. So we started building a newsletter. So every month, hey, it's February. Make sure you're changing your filters in your ACs, cleaning your roof, pool maintenance, stuff like that.
Yep.
Just giving people value, really. And then, just a really small blurb on the bottom of our services, but just to stay top of mind in the community, the service that we provided. And then we also did a real estate newsletter that went out to the agents. So kind of did market insights, how things were going, what the interest rates were doing. And again, a little blurb on the bottom about us. So nothing real pushy. We're just kind of trying to give them value, stay top of mind. And so now we're just playing the long game, getting through this market. We're adjusting, and we had to do some pivoting. Obviously, this tail end of 23, things started to die off pretty heavily. And I felt it being a newer business during COVID. I got the boom, I rode the wave, and really had to learn the hard way. But thankfully we're surviving and just cut costs and figure out really what our homeostasis is in the area and the new market. So it's been a learning experience.
Yep. And that's the crazy thing, when COVID first started, all the moving companies were scared because everyone was scared no one's going to move, right? But then it was like this huge wave came through where moving companies were busier than ever. And a lot of them were getting PPP money and getting assistance. That we've seen a lot of these moving companies, they went out and overspent. And then now with the marketing turning, man, they're going out of business. And it's sad to see. I've seen some companies that have been in business 50, 60 years go out of business, which is mind boggling to me. And it's sad to see them not be able to pivot fast enough and make a change. And it's like, we've seen it in other industries, right? Like we saw it with Blockbuster when Netflix came out, and we saw it with like Toys R Us, right? With Amazon, like these big monstrosity of companies that when things get tough, they're not able to pivot fast enough. And so that's awesome. You guys are doing good with that.
Yeah.
What is probably your best marketing avenue currently that you think you're doing?
I think our most consistent and reliable marketing would probably be mailers.
Who are you using for that?
We're using USA Home Listings. We use their
Greg.
data.
Yep. Greg's a great guy. Yep. So I've known Greg a long time too. So that's, we, back when I used to own a moving company, we ran USA Home Listings. And I pretty much suggested to everyone that's got a moving company. I mean, it's where it's at, which is funny because when we first started doing it, I was like, there's no way this is going to work. No one gets mail anymore. No one checks it. They throw it away. Right. But It works, and
Yeah.
it's some of the best jobs you're going to get because you can really target the specific homes you want to go after. You're not just targeting apartments, right? Or little crappy moves that are barely paying the bills. So
Yeah.
you're targeting full packs and bigger homes, which is nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Definitely higher paying jobs, that's for sure. In that aspect, and then repeat and referral, word of mouth, man, is gold. You can't replace it, and continuing to maintain your reputation, and when stuff does get hard, you can fall back on that, to really know your baseline if you know what your average per month is.
Yep.
So that was a huge help for us, really being able to leverage that and lean on it during the hard times.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really good. So what's one of the marketing avenues you've done that you're like, man, that was a waste of time? I'm glad we did it because I realized it was a waste of time, but that was, not profitable or just didn't work out.
Yeah, I think, coming in to the industry, you're always looking for lead providers, like Equate Media and whatever they might be out there. And if you don't have a very, very solid sales team, they're going to be a waste of money, complete waste of money. And a lot of times the data is resold so many times that you don't even know what you're getting. You're getting bottom of the barrel stuff. I've had some people that have had success with certain things, but buddies that I talk to, but I think at the end of the day, it really depends on the market that you're in. So I always tell everybody, set a budget that you're okay with losing, whether it be $500 or $1,000 for a couple months. You always want to have 90 days of data, and test, track, and tweak. But you have to test it, you have to track it, and stay on top of it, and then tweak it. And make sure your sales team's strong, because there's going to be a lot of rebuttals. Yeah,
you got to be fast.
Are you a moving company struggling to keep up with customer calls? Let Lionsden Booking Service handle your overflow, after-hours calls, or even the entirety of your sales. As a call center booking service, we're dedicated to helping your business thrive. With years of experience and a commitment to customer satisfaction, we'll make sure your clients receive the best possible service. Trust us to take your business to the next level. Contact Lionsden Booking Service today. www.lionsdensales.com.
That's what, it's interesting because, we have a lot of customers that buy leads and they swear by them. And then we have, the majority of them that have bought leads before and they're crap, they realize, but it's kind of one of those things you got to go into. You got to know that you're going to book, 1 to 5% of them
right
off the bat. So you got to understand that. And you got to understand that as soon as that lead hits, 10 other moving companies got it, and they're all calling at the same time. And if you're not the first, you really want to be the first, but if you're not the first or second moving company that hits that customer, you're never going to talk to them, because by the time they get called by 3 moving companies, dude, they're done answering their phone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so many of them too, they're like, how did you get my number? How did you, I just put in that I was moving and was looking for a rental truck, and now I got 12 moving companies calling me. Right. So,
yeah.
So they're interested, but that's good. And that's, you had done some of them and they obviously had resulted in some jobs when you were doing them, but you were having to play also the game of being the cheaper mover.
Yeah.
Which is not really a fun place to be when you're trying to build a brand and build a company and build a good reputation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the most valuable things I learned in this business is one, you got to set the foundation of your business. You have to have a training process. You have to have good quality people that know what they're doing, building a good team so that when your sales reps are on the phone, they're selling the service. They're not selling a commodity. And that's one of our biggest rebuttals is, oh, well, you guys are more expensive. And I say, hey, Miss Jones, I completely understand we're more expensive. But the last thing I would hate to see on your move day is for you to go with a cheaper company, and a truck full of high schoolers pulls up to your house, your $2.5 million house on move day. And it's not the type of service that you thought you were going to get. Here at Brooks, I go into our training process and our vetted guys that are all out of high school.
Yep.
And, really selling the value propositions of the company, of why we're different, why we're better, and why our reviews are the way they are. We've got a 4.8 in one location, which is our oldest since 2016. We got a 4.9 right here in West Palm Beach. So, it's difficult to maintain that reputation, and you gotta be good at customer service, and you gotta be good at the service you provide. And, the people will speak for you. So
Yeah. That's good. So tell me a little bit, you'd mentioned you've had to do some pivoting. Obviously, I think every mover that's listening to this podcast can probably relate to the boom of COVID and then the failure of the, housing market as far as interest rates going up and it literally just seizing up, all of us losing, I don't know what it is, 30% of our leads overnight, essentially over a 6-month period or whatever it is.
yeah.
How have you combated that being, in the business for 3 years? And what did some of those hard decisions look like?
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me being new to the industry was not knowing what the season was in our area, right? Everybody's got a season. If you're in Boston, it's different than Florida.
Yep.
I was kind of just going by word of mouth of, people that I had built relationships in our area, especially real estate agents. But having that baseline of, okay, January for us, January, February are always pretty rough. March picks up, then you got April, May, June through August, September timeframe. I never had that. So that was really difficult. But through the process, I think the biggest pivot, and I think it really depends on your business plan too, because for me, I wanted to be an absentee owner. Like that was my plan, was to get this thing rolling, put 2 years into it, build my systems, processes, put a general manager in place. And, they reported to me once a week. And with the market shift the way it did, it obviously threw me a curveball. I had to adjust. So, I do sit in that seat now. I play the CEO / general manager. I just got a dispatcher, but when we were super healthy, I had an operations manager, I had a dispatcher, I had a warehouse manager. We were running 7-8 trucks at a time. But now it's really just scaled back to running super lean. Literally scrubbing the P&L every single week and figuring out what is this little charge that's coming out that we can get rid of? What is, or do we have storage units that I can now consolidate into the warehouse? Like all these little expenses that we had to just literally figure out how to cut. To our after hours answering service to the office, working out deals with our vendors, finding new providers for materials, because I was working with a specific provider for a long time, phenomenal company, great service, have it on my doorstep in 6 hours. But I had to pivot, had to find a cheaper guy that was going to deliver the next day and deal with a little trouble. Yeah.
Who'd you switch to?
I switched to Victory Packaging.
Okay.
Ryan Thomas, he's awesome guy, but he's got great pricing. Very, very competitive. So I was forced to, but he's also a relationship person.
Sure.
We've got a great relationship now. We speak a lot, but those are the biggest things I had to do. And, being lean and having the mindset of, all right, I'm not just the business owner now, but I got to get back in the seat. I got to get back in operations. I got to run stuff and we'll make sure our hours are tight, make sure how do we get our labor percentages down? How do we get our prices up? And a lot of shifting.
Yep. How have you seen the relationships you have with realtors and stuff like that? Like obviously they were feeding you a ton of business before, which, now a lot of them are struggling too. How have you kept those relationships solid, do you feel?
Man, it's funny because I was on the flip side of the coin, right? I was an agent. And there's two things you never you never referred out. That was contractors, that was movers.
Sure.
So it was a very difficult thing to get into and getting in front of them, presenting who you are, that you're a businessman, you're a family man, that you live in the local area, that you shop at the same grocery store that they do. And the last thing you want to do is you walk into Publix and get stabbed in the back by somebody because you screwed them over, right? So that was important for us. And so we just built realtor presentations. We would build relationships with, the Keller Williams and the Home Sales Palm Beach and the waterfront, waterfront. We'd go to them. We'd do presentations in front of their company. And then also sending out newsletters and putting out content on social media. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning was our social media was really geared towards the consumer. But at the end of the day, what consumer follows a moving company page, right? Yeah. So, we had to pivot to putting information out there for real estate agents, putting information out there for designers, organizers, stuff like that, so that we stay top of mind for them. And we do a lot of reposts, hey, there's a beautiful home on the water. We might be moving a customer out. Let's repost that Realtors, post or organizers. We like to repost their stuff. I actually just did this morning, and maintaining that relationship, because as soon as you burn one, it's over.
Right.
It's done. So, you have to bend over backwards. It's a lot of maintenance, but at the end of the day, your highest paying moves a lot of times come from those people that are moving from, $2, $3, $4 million houses to the next one, because they know, like, and trust you, and they know where you live.
Yep. And they're not as concerned about the money.
Right.
When someone that's typically moving a couple $1 million home, they're more worried about the reliability, the easiness of it, the less stress, and they'd rather pay a little bit more than trying to find the cheapest mover to move their $250,000 worth of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it comes to selling your value proposition, selling your service.
How did you figure out your ideal target as far as customers and stuff? Like when you're targeting on that, like based on, I would assume, from when the gentleman that you bought the company from, him doing a couple $100,000 a year, his target customers were probably a little different than the customers that you're going after now, as far as the ones you're aiming for. Not saying you're not servicing those same customers, but
yeah, it was a learning process, and I think a lot of since moving company owners are the ones that are listening to this podcast, you can relate. It's typically the lower income apartments, stuff like that you just get nickeled and dimed. And to them, it doesn't matter about the service, really. They just need the cheapest price, and they need it done fast. And it comes with a lot of headaches, for a $700, $800 move, it comes with a lot of headaches. And so, the more we moved through the ranks and we established ourselves in the local area, we were able to kind of figure out what our ideal client is. Because where we're positioned, we've got Jupiter, which is pretty affluent. You got a lot of athletes and stuff like that. I would say like I don't know how to really frame it, but kind of like the lower end of the affluent, right? We're talking $1 to $4 or $5 million homes. But then we got Palm Beach Island, which is right literally 5 miles from our office, and you've got $10 million to $50 million homes. And that is a very, very different clientele base than a $1 to $5 million home. Like very, very different. So our target market really is that $1 to $5 million home. Those people just really seem like they're down to earth. They still talk to you like you're a human. They still interact with you as a business owner. You get to those real high ends, and typically you're not dealing with the owner itself. You're definitely dealing
manager,
with home manager, interior decorator. You got 6 different people telling you 6 different things, and then you do the job, and you're trying to make everybody happy, and some of them end up a mess, to be honest. So you have to establish the groundwork up front when you're working with those people. Hey, I got one point of contact, and everything's got to go through that one person, because if it doesn't, we're going to have a mess on our hands at the end of this. So yeah, I mean, we positioned ourselves right in that middle area, built our brand so that we look good, we look clean, we look strong. Same thing with the guys. They show up, they're in uniform, they don't smell bad. All that good stuff. So
that's good. And then, tell me a little bit about your military career, because you said 13 years?
Yeah.
13 years. So tell me a little bit, what branch were you in, and tell me a little bit about yourself on that.
Yeah. So let's see, 2009, I graduated high school 2006. 2009, I like to kind of call it my series of unfortunate events. Super young, just trying to figure out life, what I wanted to do in college. I always had like a entrepreneurial mindset, but I just didn't know where to start.
Attention moving company owners, are you tired of managing your business with spreadsheets and pen and paper methods? Do you want to streamline your operations, increase your bookings, and look more professional to your customers? Then it's time to switch to Moveit Pro software. Our cloud-based platform provides everything you need to manage your moving company in one place, from booking and dispatching to payment processing and customer communication. Plus, with features like GPS tracking, real-time notifications, and detailed reporting, you'll be able to optimize your operations and take your business to the next level. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.moveitpro.com to schedule a free demo today and see how we can help you move your business forward.
I always had an entrepreneurial mindset growing up. I just didn't know where to start. So I ended up bartending, going to college. I wanted to go into the fire academy, which I ended up doing. And right around that time frame, there was a huge hiring freeze. I for some reason, I just gravitated towards medicine. I enjoyed, the EMT, the paramedic side of it. And I wanted to be the firefighter. And during that hiring freeze, I just found myself unhappy, waiting tables, tending bar. And for me, one day I just had enough. And I woke up and I was like, I called my dad. My dad was prior military and my grandfather was prior military. And I just said, hey, I got to pivot. I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, move back home, and join the military. So I ended up joining the Air Force after, kind of consulting with all the recruiters and figuring out what I wanted to do. And I just knew in my mind that I wanted to do medicine and helicopters. Those are like the two things that were in my head, right? So I ended up, first I went to the Coast Guard, looked into being a rescue swimmer there, went to the Navy, looked into being a Navy diver and rescue swimmer there, and then ended up with the Air Force. I walked in, there was this huge picture on the wall with this guy standing on the beach, all black and fins and guns and stuff. And I was like, I want to do that. Lo and behold, I didn't know I was getting myself into special operations when I signed up. But thankfully I went home and spent 6 months with my mom. I trained every day for 6 months, went in as a pararescueman, went through selection, and just ended up traveling the world. Went to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. So I spent a lot of time overseas, a lot of holidays away. But the cool thing was really when I got out, I was able to see the infrastructure of what the military looks like. And it's really structured like a big corporation. It's you got your team leaders and you got your team lead, and you got your troop chief or your flight chief, and then you got the commander, so yep. All the org chart was very similar to business. So when I got out, it was just so applicable and just boom, plug and play. And I knew, okay, as a team, as a bottom of the barrel team guy, this is what I was responsible for. So I had roles and responsibilities. As a team leader, I had roles and responsibilities. So it was, coming up and developing those as I grew. And luckily I didn't start on the trucks. I was never really on the trucks, unless I absolutely had those no call, no shows. But I was able to develop those roles out and push all the way through dispatcher to operations manager to warehouse manager, and helped me tremendously, having that background from the military and the discipline and I guess the highly driven approach that just failure is not an option.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's awesome. How was it different coming from, obviously you're in the military and you have people over you that are, telling you what you got to do, when you got to do it, stuff like that, to then obviously getting back in the civilian world and then buying into a moving company where now you're the commander in chief, you're everything. Everyone answers to you and you're the one that has to make the decisions, good or bad.
Yeah.
Was that difficult at all or not really?
Yeah. I mean, so I progressed very quickly through the military. I think by my 5th year in the military, I was a team leader. And I ended up going to what's called ALS, it's Airman Leadership School. And then they have NCO Academy once you hit E6. So I had been through the schools and learned a lot.
Leadership stuff and everything you had learned in the military. Yep.
Yeah. And really how to speak to people, how to see things through different lenses, and how to motivate people, not based off of money or what you need or want. It's how does it benefit them, and being able to speak to your employees on how it makes their life easier and better. So it was fun. I think the hardest part for me was coming from special operations. I was around type A personalities every day, all day.
Yeah.
And everybody showed up to work and to perform. And if you didn't perform, you sat on the bench. And I never wanted to sit on the bench. So every day was an interview, but the transition was very difficult because there was a sense of like almost false expectations from people, because I thought everybody operated in this manner. Like, hey, you have to come to work, you show up to work, you do what you got to do, you go home. And the moving world really just blew me away, to see the lack of accountability, the lack of clarity, and I guess the drive for a good life. And so it was really just came down to finding what our core values were in the company. It took me about 2 years to realize how important core values were. Yeah. And then hire and fire based off of our core values, and holding people accountable to those, and calling them your non-negotiables. Because if you, at the end of the day, you're the one sitting at a desk as the owner, you're really not the one withholding the reputation of the company. It's the people that you put in the seats to drive your trucks and show up at customers' homes. Yeah. And so that was a big challenge for me at first. I saw the reviews and I saw how guys were acting and stuff like that. And I never in my wildest dreams expected for somebody to act that way. So I had to do a lot of cleanup. I had to do a lot of mentoring. And a lot of our movers, we call them foremen. But we assign them as like a moving mentor. So I tell them, hey, you got to understand you're with a guy that's less experienced, but you're there to mentor and groom him. You're not there to haze him. You're not there to, work him into the ground or make him the workhorse, but you got to mentor him and groom them so that one day, they're your number two, and you want them in the right seat when you guys are driving to a job, and you can count on them. So
I think that's the big, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's one of the biggest things. I see so many movers, CEOs, owners of moving companies, they get to this point where they just hire anyone and everyone. If it's a body and he has arms and legs, they'll move them. They'll hire them and use them. And I just don't get it, because everywhere on their advertising, they strive for the best moving company. They strive for they care about their reputation and all this stuff. The customer almost never builds a relationship. And when I say customer, the actual person moving, their relationship's not typically built with you, the CEO, or your office staff. Don't get me wrong. They obviously speak to your office staff. They book the job and this, that, and the other. But that's less than an hour. They're spending 8 hours to 16 hours if it's a couple-day job with your movers, which are the guys in their home. And when these moving companies send guys that are not in uniform, not well kept, they're swearing, they're smoking, they're all this stuff, that is the reputation that company's being built on.
Yeah.
And I see it so much. And I see it so much that these moving companies, well, I just got to get someone to do the job. No, don't do the job then. Like, you go out there and do the job. Like, right. You're ruining your company. Yeah. And I think that was a hard thing during COVID, right? Because COVID was one of the hard times of getting good quality employees. Yes. And I think that's where a lot of these companies really failed at, is because they'd send anyone and everyone to moves. The common joke used to be, if you're short guys, you run through Home Depot, and there'll be some guys out there that you can pick up that are looking for day work, right? Yeah. And it's not the way to build a sustainable moving company that you're really trying to build to be an enterprise, a company that you would be proud to move your grandmother with and stuff like that, which is right. Which I think is awesome that you mentioned that, you had to learn to fire quickly. You gotta move through the bad people, because there's a lot of them out there. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that want to check, but they don't want to work.
Yeah. And it really boils down to your hiring process, and then the culture that you build in your business. Yep. And it's like, if you show up to an interview and your pants are around your, under your butt, and you got slides on and you smell like weed, like, I don't even let you come in my office. Like, hey man, just the way you presented yourself, this isn't going to work out. This isn't the place for you, man. I appreciate your time. But, and I've turned multiple people away, even for being late. You're 10 minutes late to a job interview. Like, come on, man. Like, Like show that you want to be here, show that you've got some ambition and drive. So the attrition rate per se should be very high, right? In the interview process, I think they say it's like 5%, every 100 that you hire, 5. And then you have to just keep the culture strong in your company. If you don't have a strong culture and if you don't nip stuff in the bud as fast as absolutely possible, it spreads like wildfire. And you give guys no call, no show, and they start do that stuff. They start sliding, they get away with it.
Everyone does.
Yep. Then next thing you know, you got 6 moves, 8 moves going on that day, and you've got 6 guys that show up, and you got to figure it out. So really just getting ahead of that and building that culture of responsibility and accountability, giving your foreman, a sense of ownership in a project and this crews. And I was guilty of it in the beginning. I would be the one picking up the phone, calling, well, I need a guy. And so we were finally able to build the culture in our company that, hey man, you're the foreman. This is your crew. You need to confirm your crew the night before. And when they're not there in the morning at 7 o'clock, when they're supposed to be there, you need to be picking up the phone and calling them, because I can't do it for everybody.
Yep.
And it gives them that sense of ownership. All right, this is my team. I'm responsible for you. And you got to be here. So, it really helped out. And, I think the most difficult part is really, end of the month, right? Beginning of the month, we're stacked full of guys, and it's typically like you're putting every single mover you got, because you can't hire more because they're for the rest of the month, they're not going to be making money. And that's when you really see who your A players are that are showing up and doing the right things. And as soon as they pull cards that you don't like in your business, that don't maintain your core values and your culture, like, see you later. Sometimes you have to cut jobs off the schedule or block off days because you just don't have the guys that are there to withhold the reputation that you're trying to build. And you got to maintain it.
Yep. That's good. So a couple last things. One is, how did you figure out what to charge for your guys' moves? You do hourly, you do flat rate. Tell us a little bit about how you guys estimate and charge.
In the beginning, I didn't really know anything. I was charging kind of bottom dollar, to get guys out there. I was learning, what my fixed expenses were and all that stuff. We're learning what true KPIs, where we needed to hold our company. And I'm guilty of it. We price shopped like everybody else. You call around or you end up getting estimates that customers are willing to share from other companies saying, hey, this is what we're charging. But it's a never ending battle for us. In our market, we see a lot of people charging like an hourly plus a fuel surcharge, and then, heavy items and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I just don't think it's digestible by the consumer. And like they say, a confused consumer doesn't buy. So I kind of figured out the formula that other companies were using, and consolidated that into one hourly rate and said, we charge port to port for this one hourly rate. And it's digestible. It's understandable for the customer to say, oh, it's $279 for X amount of move or whatever it is. So, and then explaining that to them, explaining your service again, and why people have these hidden fees, which not necessarily hidden. They just didn't understand what they got themselves into when they signed the contract. So we broke that down into an easily digestible price. And one of the things that we actually just moved towards recently on the local side was that we just quote our hourly, and we really, really try to stay away from an estimated time frame. And it has eliminated so many headaches for us to say, oh, this was going to be a $2,100 move and ended up being 27. Yeah. Time is the time. But, it's a difficult conversation to have with the customer that we should have known. And, there's this magic formula for moving that we should know exactly what it's going to take. And
because the customers are always honest about what they're moving too. 100% of the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's going, that's not, I'm going to sell this on Facebook. You show up.
I'm in my attic, and then you show up the day of, and they got, 100 Christmas boxes up there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 100%. So yeah, and some people, we just, they want to push back. They want a price. If that's the case, we'll do an onsite. We'll give them an estimate or give them a quote, and that's the price. But again, you have to be very detailed in your notes. This not going, this not going, this going. These are the services we're providing, so that you have that contract to lean on. Like just today, I had a guy. Oh, you said you were going to mount 4 of my TVs. Like, we've never ever mounted TVs, nor my sales manager, the one who booked it, is the number one proponent of, no, we're not doing that. We don't want that liability.
Holes in your wall. We don't want to worry about that falling or something. Yeah.
Right. So, just being very clear and transparent, shopping around and then figuring out what works for you. You got to do what's right for the company. And if you are overpriced, then you need good sales guys.
Yep. That's good. All right, man. So we're going to do what we call the lightning round. I'm just going to ask you, it's a few questions. It's more questions about you, not necessarily in the moving industry, but just you in general. So without further ado, what's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Best piece of business advice I ever received would be hire quickly, fire quickly.
Yep, which is interesting. Something you said earlier, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What's one attribute or characteristic of a successful founder or CEO?
The most important attribute is repetition. Like, in order to be a leader, you have to realize, and we're a broken record every single day, you have to repeat yourself and repeat yourself and repeat yourself. And the sooner that you can get over that frustration and realizing that you're implementing all these important things in your business, it will change the game for you. And just get over it, repeat yourself every single day. And that way everybody knows your expectations.
Yep. That's good. What's your favorite productivity tool or habit?
I'm a very big proponent of self-mastery. Really being able to control your emotions and being able to see things from other people's perspectives. So really, like, my morning routine is very important to me. That's working out, that's doing a bit of meditation, introspection, and cold plunges. Those are things that really get my mind right, get my energy right, so that when I do show up to work, I'm ready to go, I'm fired up, and I can execute.
Awesome. What's a new crazy business idea you'd love to pursue if you had the time?
Funny you ask. We are actually in the middle of launching Tighten Up training, which we are focusing very heavily on sales, because I saw a huge gap in the industry for sales training.
Yep.
And then we are also doing cutting edge, state-of-the-art mover training. So all the mover, we filmed over 200 videos, from credenzas to couches to white couches to dining room tables, that will be launching in March. So that was, it's gonna be really cool. Last time I was trying to find something was like Thomas and Mover training from 1992, and
there's nothing out there. It's all old stuff. So that's
Yep.
yeah. If you watch some of the old like training videos from when AMSA was around for pro movers, if they taught you how to wrap a TV, they weren't TVs like we have today. they're old, the big old TVs that no one even has anymore. So that's awesome. You guys are doing that. Sweet.
Yep.
Cool.
So,
what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people do not know?
interesting fact about me. Man. I think an interesting fact about me is that I struggle with leadership. I really do, because I'm a perfectionist and I'm a very fast implementer. So I'm very type A. If you're familiar with disc profiles, I'm a D. So for me, it's like, hey, this is what we're doing, and I need it. I need a result now. Like, we need it. So I struggle with I don't struggle with implementation, but I struggle with the process of getting everybody on the same page and watching it finally develop a month or 2 or 3 down the road, because I just want results ASAP.
It's funny that you mentioned disc. Do you know what your secondary is? I'm a DI.
Yep. Same thing.
So yeah. So I want to be in charge, but I want to have fun.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
That's awesome. What's one of the most important passions outside of work other than family?
Other than family.
I have to add other than family because everyone says family. So
Family, yeah. Yeah. Biggest passion really is, my biggest sense of fulfillment now being out of the military is helping other people, like helping other business owners, giving them every bit of advice, another reason that we did the Tighten Up training stuff, because we're going into marketing, branding, operations, like everything. And we want to put the information out there because I love seeing people succeed. Like I like nothing more makes me happy than to see my movers making money, a new car in the, out in the parking lot that they were able to buy from the company. So that's truly a great feeling.
That's awesome, man. Well, sweet. I mean, I think that's all I got today. Why don't you tell everyone how to get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get a hold of me. My Instagram handle is invested in real estate. John Hamilton on Facebook, and then also we're launching Tighten Up training, so you can follow us on there. And March 22nd, we're launching that, and you can reach out and give you more information.
Awesome. Thank you so much, buddy, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, and stay great.
Likewise, Jason. Thanks for having me. It's great.
Thanks, buddy.